Hello Gemini friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Gemini September 2020 Must Knows. You have a lot of energy focused on your area of life of home and family. And this is going to prove to have some very powerful outcomes as we have some very important outer planets lock into configuration with these personal planets that are lighting up this area of your life, which means that even in the midst of the energy of Mars going officially retrograde, you may find that some things gel in a very important, permanent, long-term material way for you. If you're trying to buy a home, if you're trying to sell a home, if you're trying to improve your home, if you're trying to find a roommate or do something with real estate or establish or expand a home-based business or anything having to do with businesses that are about homes, then you are in luck this month because there's just so much lighting up for you in this area. Generally, when the personal planets, the ones that are closer to us, so like the Sun, Mercury, which are ones in question that we're talking about here moving through Virgo, these planets move sort of quickly and they blow through an area of the chart and they bring information and they bring news, but a lot of times it's a little bit more superficial. But when there are planets in the outer realms, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, as they are in Capricorn, that are in a configuration where the closer planets, like the Sun and Mercury, come into a mathematical connection with these outer planets in this Earth energy, it brings the chance for very lasting change, very dramatic transformation in a positive way. And the reason why it's positive is because the angle that's being made from these connections is a trine, and a trine is the most favorable aspect in all of astrology. Okay, so you've got superficial and deep focus in these areas of life. This can also gel something having to do with a family. If you're trying to start a family, you might find out that you're pregnant, or there may be births, or you may find a perfect roommate, or you may figure out how to earn more money with the house holdings that you have, whether it's through renting or other creative use of your space, or, like I said, more of this focus on home-based business. And of course, this is a trend that has begun with the advent of the changes from the coronavirus. But if you've watched my video called How the Astrology of 2020 Explains the Coronavirus, then you will understand that these changes that have come were not from the coronavirus. The coronavirus is actually an energy from the astrology. So you can do a search for Annie Botticelli coronavirus to see a very in-depth, very informative explanation of how these, of what's going on with that. But we'll talk about, just a little bit more lightly in this video, which is that there's a long-term story of changing how we do business and changing what work looks like for people. And so you can see what is happening. So anything in those areas has a chance to light up very beautifully for Geminis right now. Now, if you have a situation where you want to start something and it's like a launch, a brand new launch, this month is not necessarily the best month for like major pushes. But it is a time where if an opportunity comes to you that you can say yes to it, and it is a time for you to be able to continue doing what you have been doing and trying some different things on and making plans for a future launch. Those energies work really well right now. But you might find that with these aspects that some opportunities come to you, and it could also have to do with inheritances, winning money, getting a loan, paying off debt. Those are all very increased in chance for Geminis at this time. There's also a lot of energy around your mobility, and your devices and the way that you communicate. So you might be prepared to buy or be in a situation to have to buy, or it may just naturally come to you that you upgrade a device at this time or a vehicle. Now, in general, since Mars rules metal and Mars is going to be retrograde, it's not usually the best time to try to do things like this and purchasing something that's mostly made of metal. But because of the way things are lining up for Gemini placements, if something is flowing just so beautifully and naturally, or if out of necessity it comes to you that you have to do make one of these purchases, then you can do it and not worry about it because it could be part of this, gelling of things that we're talking about. You might also have an opportunity to make some money through some travel or through some social connections or in your neighborhood. Okay, so we've got some money opportunities coming up in multiple ways for Gemini this month. I'm calling the energy of this month the big cleanup, because when planets move through Virgo, it wants to bring this energy of systems. It's kind of like, the back to school kind of energy that we think of, where we're like, okay, we're pulling in from the summer, we're pulling in from, or a vacation, and now it's time to get down to business, get organized, and start planning stuff. Virgo times happen to generally coincide with when school goes back in, but I think that part of why that happens is because astrologically, it's just the time of year to get back on track and get in a system and get in a rhythm. So however that winds up looking for you in your life, you'll kind of see this structure wanting to come in and this organization wanting to come in. And you'll see areas of your life wanting to be cleaned up, especially in the relationship sector. It might also have to do with the home sector, like, doing home repairs or something like that. And you may also notice this big cleanup in the area of things having to do with your children or your romantic life, okay? But the odds, so usually when the planets move through Virgo, that's at an awkward angle for Gemini placement. So usually this year, around this time every year, like the end of August into September, it's like a little uncomfortable for Gemini energy because it's just conflictive. But because there's so much support in the stars with those nice angles that we were talking about, it makes it more likely that this would have a nice outcome for you. Like any awkwardness or adjustments that are being made will likely have a better outcome because of the nice aspects. So anything that you feel motivated to clean up in any of those departments, whether it's in your relationships or whether it's with the type of person that you've been dating or how you've been going about that or how you are in your romantic relationships or some things with your kids, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to do that this month. You also might notice that this story of hobbies as work may come into the forefront in a bigger way. This may come as a necessity, like if you've been jobless, or it may come as just the fact that your creativity house is going to start to be lit up here. For those of you later in the sign, so basically we're talking about like the last 10 days or so. So we'll say like June 11th through the rest of the sign around. Or 20 to 29 degrees if you're watching for your moon or rising, because my reports are equally for you if you're watching for your moon or rising, then you all might see this what I'm about to describe take a little longer to take root, like more towards the end of September and into October, but it will still show up for you. But what's going to happen is this lighting up of your creativity sector. You might find that you get super crafty, or that you find a new hobby, or that something that you used to like to do for fun comes back in, or like do-it-yourself projects start coming up in a big way. And those are all really well supported at this time. And even though, like I mentioned before, like because Mars is retrograde from September 9th through November 14th, and the energy even before September 9th, like even starting at the end of July, started like shifting into Mars retrograde energies, because Mars rules momentum and it rules oomph. That's why we generally say if you want to have oomph and longevity with your launch, you don't really want to do that when Mars is in retrograde, because your oomph is going backwards, So it's not like the best time to launch your hobby as a business per se, but if opportunities come to you and people want to buy things that you have, it's okay to say yes to that and maybe work in the backdrop for like an official big launch or big coming out of this work, to the public at the end of the year or more towards the beginning of 2021. But there will be a lot of opportunity to cater to your hobbies, to have more fun, to have more romance, to spend more time with kids, or to let the viewpoint of a child, like the awe and wonder that a child looks at life through, to have that infiltrate your being. Okay, so you might notice your ambitions starting to wane and your goal setting or your goals seem like they're floating away from you as Mars goes into retrograde, and this is very common. But if you are a person that notices that into September and October and November that you're like turned on, that you're like things are flowing and you're motivated, then just follow your flow, because there are people who have the opposite effect in a Mars retrograde, okay? So it's going to be very important that you tune into your natural flow, and your big cue will be if you start getting super frustrated and things are not working out and you have obstacles everywhere, just stop, because that's the universe telling you it's time to pull back and observe. It might not be time to force the efforts. One big must know about Mars retrograde is that it's not the time to force something that's not already flowing. Okay, you can follow the flow like a wave riding into shore, and you may notice that in some areas of life this month. But if you're pushing and it's pushing back on you, then you want to just stop, okay? Because that can avoid some of the major keynotes of Mars retrograde, which are frustration and anger. This is a fantastic month for vacations and staycations and playcations. I don't know what the state of the world is going to be in, or your particular area is going to be in September. That's going to be different for different areas. So vacations might not be possible or advisable for many people, depending on where you are or where you're going. But for those of you for whom it is flowing and it does work well, this could be a really great month for vacation. And for those of you who can't go away, staycations and playcations, as I call them, are really well advised for September and October and November. Just kind of creating the attitude of being on vacation, unplugging from your devices, doing some relaxing things, back to these hobbies, just kind of kicking back a little bit. And really just focusing on casual and flexible projects and commitments. If you want to study something, and that is, a program that gives you flow of your own, where you can learn at your own pace, those are perfect. Anything that has super, tight deadlines and lots of stress, where they have to be done by a certain time and that deadline is coming soon, those things may be harder to pull through in a Mars retrograde, because your ambitions may wane and you might basically just get super lazy. So it may be hard to commit to or follow through with things that you commit to. So it's important to know that. Okay, the next must know for Geminis is that Jupiter is going direct. Jupiter is the planet of benevolence and luck and expansion and growth and positivity and optimism. And when it's in retrograde, as it went retrograde in May, a lot of times, the feeling of hope wanes. And you can kind of see this. May happened to have coincided, I'm sure not coincidentally, with the time when things were really deepening in their shutdown. And for many people, it's been hard to keep hope, and it's been hard to keep the light, and been hard to see, the light at the end of the tunnel. But as Jupiter goes direct this month, you might notice that you can kind of see the way. You can have more hope or have more optimism. Not to say that there aren't going to be challenges ahead in the world, because there are. We have some booms coming in October, November, and December that are the final storylines of the big boom combinations of outer planets that have been at the source of the changes in the world, in the systems, in the coronavirus, in our lives. These outer planets in Capricorn have been clashing together and busting up old systems, showing us where we have to hold on to the wisdom of the past and the places where we have to create new structures. And that drizzles down all the way from the global scene down to your daily life, like which structures are working for you, which ones do you need to have more discipline with, and where do you need to just do something new. But September is this kind of magical time that's suspended in between eclipse hotspots of the year. Okay, so June, July, and August, we had eclipse time. October, November, December, we're going to have eclipse time again. September is kind of like dancing in this, bubble where we're not in the major dramas of eclipses. Now, eclipse storylines can still follow through at any time, but they tend to get really hot and heavy and emotional and transformational and dramatic the closer you get to those eclipse points. So we have a little bit of, time to breathe here in September because of that. We also have some time to breathe in September because Jupiter and Saturn are going direct, and those are two of the planets that have been involved in the ruckuses, but they're not yet coming back into contact with each other and Pluto and, creating those very monumental experiences as we've had prior to now. So we've got a little bit of breathing room to prepare for the next wave of changes. There are double the challenging aspects this month compared to the sweet ones, and when that happens, it does set part of the tone for the month where there are going to be obstacles and things to work through. But a lot of those challenges are more superficial, and they will pass quickly. They're like little upsets, little annoyances, and they will pass quickly. The way that I see months that have more challenges than sweet spots are invitations, basically, to change your viewpoint about something. When we have conflicts in the stars, they crack open bubbles of awareness in our being to show us some things that were under the surface for us and people around us in the world. And they give us a chance to change how we're doing things or change how we're seeing things. And this is a long-term theme of these energies of Capricorn teeter-tottering on new innovative energies of Aquarius, like old tradition versus new ways. We're teeter-tottering on the brink of that. Where as a world, as a species, we're going through a time where we're evaluating the past and seeing the things that have worked and the things that have been in place just because they have been in place, but they're not working and they don't make any sense and they need to be updated. Figuring out the process of what to keep and hold on to strongly from the old ways and where to let some new things in. That discernment is what's being developed this year, and that's going to be very much a focus this month for you in your personal life and on the global level. We also, so we have 6 trines this month, Earth trines, the ones that I talked about at first, where a lot of long-term things may gel for you in a big way. And we talked about the fields of experience that were highlighted there. There are also 6 awkward aspects called an inconjunct. It's also called a quincunx. And that aspect is like, I call it the baby giraffe just being born, trying to find its footing aspect. I talked about this in the August report, and there are some similarities between those energies in August and these energies in September, which has to do with finding your footing. So August and September is very much about finding the footing and the new normal, getting established in certain things, and that awkwardness where you're not quite yet established yet. So you'll notice that comes up. And sometimes doubt comes with this angle. I like to see doubt as a gift from the universe to help us to more clearly evaluate and discern what's true for us in our ever-changing reality, and to shore up the things that we are certain about and to be open to other things in order to be able to have more security and certainty. And also to just accept that we do live in a world that carries quite a bit of uncertainty. So the more that we can find our certainty to spirit, our spiritual connection, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, that can help to be your buoy and to be your anchor through the times of doubt. And that might be, your spiritual world, maybe something that factors in very strongly this month, where you evaluate your spiritual views and find the things that are working for you and find the ways that you might have to crack out of a belief system into something that resonates more with the person you are now. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about is that we are ending a water festival. And this is good news for Gemini, very much a reason to celebrate for Geminis, because water energies don't mix very well with air energies. And June and July, and to a lesser degree, but still present in August, we've had a massive amount of water intensity. And as of the full moon at the beginning of September, there's like this culmination of all this water energy, which could culminate in floods and storms and, breaking of pipes and high emotion and water where it shouldn't be. But that's like the end of the water festival. After that time, for the rest of September, after the first few days, we're really very grounded in earth energies. And we also have a growing voice of fire and air. And those energies are beautiful for Gemini. They fan your flames of passion and of creativity, and they help to give you momentum even in a time when Mars is going retrograde, when some momentum might be lost in certain areas. You might find that momentum in certain other areas light up. And that's why it's really important for you to follow the flow and see what's lighting up for you and follow the things that are lighting up for you. So that's something to celebrate. But even this Pisces full moon at the beginning of the month only has one kind of annoying aspect that coincides with it. The rest of the aspects at that time are super positive and can be part of this like major gelling process for you. So although there's a little crunkle, that could cause some sad tears or stressed tears at this time, there's also more of the energy of something like gelling in place that could be really exciting for you. So the field of experience that is going to be lit up for Geminis with this full moon is the career work sector. Also could be father figures or bosses or authority figures. So, government, police, anyone that's in a position of authority or having to do with rules that we have to follow. This can also have to do with like your life purpose, or feeling like your feeling of being on track with what you're supposed to be doing or not. Okay, so those are the areas where this fullness is coming. And that's true for all early, middle, and late degree Gemini placements. If you're a friend who loves when I show the charts, then I'm sorry that I don't have the charts this month. I've got July has not been an easy month for air and fire signs, as you probably will know and agree with, especially in the earlier part of the month when I'm recording this. And so I can't do the extra work of adding in the charts and then editing them and all that this month, but I do hope to have those back soon. But in any case, what I can tell you is that no matter where in the Gemini spectrum you are, this 10th house, or this work, career, bosses, authority figures, your life purpose, your place out in the world, that's what's going to come to this fullness and have this drama and high emotion around it. Another piece to take into consideration is that Pisces does make a square with Gemini. So even though globally there are more nice aspects with this full moon, so that gives a chance to gel certain things in place in a big way in the long term, the odds that there is going to be emotion like a sad or frustrated or difficult thing to get through emotion are increased for Geminis because of the angle that's hitting you. And that's a potential for all Geminis, but those of you who are like closer to 10 degrees, and even we'll say between 5 degrees and 15 degrees, so basically like May born up through like the 5th or so of June, and 5th or 6th of June, and those of you closer to June 1st will get the most discomfort or the most challenge and emotion from this. And everyone else, like later in the sign, beyond the 5th, if it's not going to hit your Gemini placement, it's less likely to be as personal and as stressful for you than for those other earlier signs. But it is important to note that if you don't know your chart at all, you might have Gemini placements in that later configuration and not even know it. That's why I'm always recommending that you do a search online for how you run a free birth chart, run a free birth chart for yourself, see what the symbol looks like for Gemini, and see if you have any other placements in Gemini, and look at the number next to that. It will say something with a little degree sign. And those are the numbers that you'll want to take into consideration in my videos, because I always talk about the different degrees so that you can, divide down. So like I have a ton of placements in Sag. So no matter what happens, for better or worse, with planets connecting with Sagittarius, I always have an excess of experience because I have so many different degrees of all of these different planets that something's going to get hit for better or worse whenever something's connecting with that sign. And you might find that you have the same. Also important to note, if you are a late Gemini person, so like your birthday is June 11th, and especially even later, like June 15th through the rest of the sign, or like 23 degrees through the rest of the sign, you might benefit from watching the Cancer reports, not just from me, but for other people, in addition to this, because I will always take into consideration when something is different for a late degree placement. But most astrologers, from what people tell me, are not talking anything about this, and most astrologers will run charts that are at 0 degrees. And if they're doing that, then your chart, those of you in the late degree, will actually look more like what they're running as a Cancer chart. So experiment with watching Cancer reports, and you might find that you get more timely information for yourself or additional pieces that are relevant for you. Okay, so in general, we have a lot to celebrate this month with a lot of things coming to fruition and gelling in a very material way. We've got some awkwardness. We do have Mars retrograde, which can be an amazing thing. Mars retrograde in general, I'm super excited about for Geminis because it's making a nice angle for you, and it's happening for a long time. So it starts in the beginning of July, and then all the way through the beginning of January of 2021, Mars is going to be in Aries. And as long as Mars is in Aries, it's making nice aspects with your Gemini placements. So I do expect for Gemini placements that the whole process of Mars retrograde can be softer and can have more positive gains because of these angles. But of course, that would depend on what it's doing in other parts of your chart. But this is definitely a piece of truth for you, and I hope that that holds true. I highly recommend you watch my resources and read my resources on Mars retrograde. I have them linked under here. If you click under this video on the More button, it opens up a whole bunch of different links of free things that I have created for you. Or you can search for Annie Botticelli Mars retrograde, watch my video, read my blog, and that will help you understand the nature of this energy and what you can do with it and what to avoid and why. Also, if you like written reports 1 month early for horoscopes, I also do written, much more simplified, shorter written horoscopes on my site, cozybysweetstarlight.com. And you can also see other healthy lifestyle blogs, and it's just a beautiful site. I highly recommend you check it out. You can also sign up for my free email newsletter and get a written report including all the aspects that are going to occur, what the aspects are, the date of the aspects, and the energies you can expect from those aspects, plus a detailed write-up of the general energy of the month, all delivered 1 month early to you when you sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. And the September write-up is especially long, actually, because there are a lot of subtle nuances going on at that time and a lot of aspects, and I go into a lot of detail about all of it, so you'll be getting an extra special bonus by signing up now or if you've already signed up. Also, you get my 28-day virtual coaching program for free when you sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. You can also check out my free courses at lumlife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. Luminous Life Multiversity is my school, and I have paid courses there as well, including my Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course. So if you'd like to learn astrology in a very deep way, either just for your own self-development or to help your family and friends, or to do it professionally, I give you everything you need to know to do it as your work. And you can see that at lumlife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.